How to take pictures at night games. Part 2, Light Levels, revised, 2023 July. What we will cover: why do you want to determine light levels? How to determine light levels? Plotting the light level? Determining the evenness of the lighting. What is the practical reason? And field comparison. Why determine light level? Well, first item, light level of the field for the exposure. Can your gear handle the light levels on your field? The second is the evenness of the light level across the field. Are there dark spots on the field that you want to try and avoid? How to determine light levels? I measure the light level using a meter. I use an incident meter with a flat diffuser. Set the ISO and shutter speed to give me a reading of f8 in the center of the field when holding the meter so that the flat diffuser is facing horizontal. At each of the positions, I hold the meter so that the flat diffuser is facing horizontal, and I meter in the 4 directions, recording the aperture reading for each direction. But you probably don't have that meter, so how do you determine this with a camera? What you need is a camera with a fast lens, 17-52.8 or 35-1.8. It can be done with a slower lens, but it's a little more difficult. And you need a large white poster board. Go to the center of the field. Have your assistant hold up the poster board, straight vertical, not tilted. Set the camera. Do not cast a shadow on the board. Exposure mode S, shutter priority, ISO 10,000 to start with. Set the shutter speed so that the aperture reads at least 3 stops higher than the max aperture of your lens. For example, for a 2.8 lens, 3 stops is f8. For a 5.6 lens, 3 stops is f16. The 3 stops is to give you exposure room for the dim parts of the field. If the dim parts of the field are more than 3 stops, you're going to have to raise it higher. You may have to raise the ISO higher to do this if your field is dimmer than my field. So just that ISO of 10,000, that's just a starting point. With the same focal length on the zoom lens at the same distance from the board for all 4 positions. Aim the camera at the poster board and record the aperture. Do this for all 9 plot locations. Now you plot the light levels. On a spreadsheet, this is what it's going to look like. The 9 plotted positions are done on my field, 10-yard line, 50-yard line, and 10-yard line. And I do it in the middle and approximately where the numbers are on both sides of the field. So you can see at the bottom, home bleachers, at the top, visitors bleachers. So that tells you which direction the chart is on. North is on the left. And now we look at the field with that same data overlaid on it. So you can see approximately where the plots were taken on the field itself. Now, step 2, we want to determine the evenness of the lighting. This is how the lighting is even across the field. What we want to find out is how much darker the dark parts of the field are compared to the brightest. So how do we do that? First, adjust to a 0. What you want to find is the plot location with the highest exposure f-stop. That will be your reference 0. Second step, For all the other plot locations, determine how much less the exposure is in f-stops from your reference 0. 0, -1, -2, -3. Your plot will now show how much the light falls off in f-stops. And this will tell you where and how dim are the dimmest parts of the field. So this is a dimness plot, or the evenness plot. The 0 are the brightest spots in the field, and everything else is based on that. So for instance, top middle 50-yard line, it's -1 stop in all 4 directions. Bottom right. Now this one is a problem. When you're shooting from the bleachers from the visitor's side towards home and you're shooting towards that bottom right position, that position is 2 stops dimmer than the center of the field. I always knew that was a dim spot, but I didn't know quite how dim it was. So now we know it is 2 stops dimmer. But I want you to notice something else. On those 10-yard plots, the number on the right side, -5, -5, and -5. What that means, if you're on the outside of the end zone, shooting towards the field, and somebody is at the 10-yard line, the lighting on their face is 5 stops dimmer than the center of the field. That is a problem, and we'll see an example later. Now we put the evenness plot onto a picture of the field, so you can visually see what parts of the field are dimmer than the others and by how much. And you can see what I was talking about. Bottom right corner, down 2 stops if you're shooting from the visitor side. Go behind the end zone and shoot towards the field. The players on that facing the end zone, they're 5 stops lower than the center of the field. Now, what is a practical reason for doing this? With uneven lighting, the exposure in the dim parts of the field could be significantly dimmer than the center. The ISO in the center of the field, for instance, is 6,400. The ISO in that bottom right-hand corner is 25,600. So your camera has to be able to get up to an ISO of 25,600 to expose someone in that corner. And here's the rub. When you shoot football players, they often run into the corners of the field. So if you're going to get a picture of a football player in that corner, you're going to be expecting a dim shot. Next, you're going to plan where you want to shoot from. And this is regarding shadows on faces. Like this one. They're inside the 5-yard line, and you can see how deep the shadow is on the face and body towards the camera. That is because there's no light coming from this side. Field comparison. So we do the same thing at another field. So this is Hillsdale High School. I did a light level plot. And now we compare my school, Carmont, at the top with Hillsdale at the bottom. And you can see the light level difference between the two schools. But it's kind of hard to see what is really going on because this is absolute light. So we go to the next step. We do a dimness plot. Same thing like we did on our field. We find the brightest spot, and everything else is a minus number from there. So now we compare, and we can start seeing some difference. Remember the end zone numbers? Look at the top picture. -5, -5, -5. The bottom one, -2, -1, -2. So if you're shooting at Hillsdale, you can shoot from the end zone because they've got lighting there, and they're not putting the people facing the end zone in a deep shadow like they are at Carmont. Same thing with the opposite side of the field. Carmont goes -4, -5, -6. Hillsdale is -2, -2, -2. Again, they don't have a dark end zone, so you can take pictures from that direction. So this is how you start using this. Like, okay, I don't want to shoot in Carmont's end zone, but I can shoot in Hillsdale's end zone. The end. Please like and subscribe.